invited to be an Uni ambassador, and it was official beginning of October. So now I'm officially Uni ambassador.
Now, what is that all about? What does it mean to be an ambassador?
So I mean, it's basically like it's already what I'm doing already. It's I'm baking in my Uni, showing tips and tricks how to best utilize the ovens. Anytime anybody reaches out, give them some helpful pointers and just kind of help the community that's baking in the ovens make better pizza. So
I think that's one of the big major tenets of what we're trying to do on this kind of new show, right? We want to make ourselves accessible to people, teach them, give tips, tricks, how to make pizza. So that's just a great extension there for you. And I noticed they sent you that gigantic, the Max oven? You're making like a 20-inch pizza the other day?
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with that oven. That oven's great, man. It's crazy. It's so big. It's like when you see it next to the Coda 16, it's like the Papa pizza oven, and the Coda is like the baby, which is crazy because the Coda 16 is pretty large too. I mean, you do a 16-inch pizza in that, but you can do a 20-inch. I mean, you could probably do a 22-inch pizza in the Max and not break a sweat.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive in size. So really cool though. So congratulations officially on that. So you'll be doing a lot of good things with them. And I talk a lot about pizza ovens a lot. And I've tested some Unis in the past. Happen to be working with Gosney, but I always send my Uni questions over to you because I just think people really need to get. I don't like to sell people ovens. I like to match them up with an oven that they can use. Whether it's a Gosney, which I'm passionate about, with the Uni that you are, and I just want to find out what they really need and try to match them up with that. So I think I just sent somebody over to you today. So watch your inbox on that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to learn. I mean. And as well as I do, the pizza community is so awesome, and everybody's so willing to give information and help. It's all about helping people make better pizza. So that's what we're here to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody has any pizza questions here tonight, as we kind of go through our topics, be sure to leave a comment, and we'll keep an eye on the comment box on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So what else is going on?
I don't know, man. It's kind of, I'm still reeling from the Phillies getting knocked out of the postseason as you are, I'm sure. So just trying to hang on to the last few weeks of baseball, I guess, as best I can. I still like watching the playoffs, and it's enjoyable, but still not the same when your team's out of it.
I miss making the Phillies rally pizzas here. Of course, yours were a lot nicer looking than mine were, but I felt a certain pride there for a while that we were helping them win with our pizzas, even when they didn't win.
I know, right? Like baseball is such a superstitious sport where everybody sort of does their routines where they feel like it affects the game. So. It got to the point where you almost felt like you had to make the rally pizza to kind of keep the mojo going, but it wasn't enough, right? So.
Just wasn't enough. The Mets were tough. Not much you can do. We just didn't hit.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk, kind of reflect on our class, and I this is where I kind of hope we'll have some folks chime in and participate. Maybe some of our students will be here, but that was first. I want to say that was a real honor to go through the last couple of months planning for that class with you. Learned a lot from you through that process, and I think we have a lot in common, but we have very different styles. So I think it's really cool to have a partner on something that pushes you out of your comfort zone. In a lot of areas, and it makes you, be better. So I really appreciated going through this process of planning, and we pretty much made a book together on this, which is pretty neat. So that's like a deliverable that we have that we're able to pass out. So tangible. But what are some of your biggest takeaways from that process?
I mean, I think just a lot of that, like you said, that pre-planning where we were, gearing up for the day, we really kind of just took our, like, like you said, I'm a little bit different than you. Like, you were more classically, not classically trained, but you have more experience in the pizza world and like working in an actual shop, where I'm more like self-taught. So like we took both of those experiences, and I think that kind of helped, um, really mold it to the audience, where we had a lot of home pizza makers. So they got, we were able to take both of those experiences and put it together. And I think it was really relatable for people. And I think we put, like you said, we put together this manual that was really cool. And I think, um, with recipes, dough recipes, pizza recipes that, people could take home and they can reference, moving forward. And we emphasize, this is just a recipe and you can tweak it, or learn how you like to make pizza and make it your own. But it's definitely like a good jumping off point for people.
I thought so too. And the biggest sort of takeaway for me, and the thing that I'll never forget, is sort of the aha moments on folks' faces when they pulled a just gorgeous pizza out of the oven. They're like thinking, "Wait, you made this, or I made this?" And I said, "No, you made this, right?" And it was just kind of this special moment where they realize that they can do it, or just as simple as sliding the pizza in the oven and landing it on the stone, which is, terrifying when you're a noob, right?
Yeah.
You were stressed out putting that 20-inch pizza in the oven, and you've launched how many pizzas in your day, right?
And honestly, I mean, even just like I took things from the class that you did, that I saw you do live, that actually helped me with that, because that's not my forte. I'm usually doing pan pizzas and not launching rounds. And I used to have trouble with it myself, even like a 12-inch round pizza. But taking what I learned from you and applying it, definitely helped me in that process as well. So I mean, yeah, I mean, it's all about kind of getting confidence and you know doing it, which I think everybody that came away from that class definitely had the confidence to like pull it off at home, because like you said, you had those aha moments where like the light bulb went off and they were like, oh my god, I actually did it. And so they know, like, okay, I did it once, I can do it again and like replicate it at home. So
Yeah, and I hope that they are applying themselves. We do have that follow-up class coming, so I want to prepare for that.
yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And the sort of the trademark thing that I remember was, you said you loved the series of photos where we were teaching the one lady how to spin the dough, and it was kind of like me showing, and then her sort of doing, and then it was like the facial expression of, oh my god, I just did that.
Yeah.
And that is just something I'll take with me there. And so my wife's a teacher, and she has great passion for the profession, and I just see her have this fulfillment when she has those breakthroughs. And so that was on a small level, I was able to sort of relate there. So it was kind of neat.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So I do want to take a second here, because tonight, as you know, this episode of our podcast is brought to you by Lloyd Pans. And Lloyd Pans was a very generous sponsor of the class. And actually, every single student got to take home one of these incredible pans. Nothing sticks to them. You were demonstrating during the class, and I don't think anybody quite understood that cheese burnt against this side of the pan was going to just not stick to it. It just didn't. We had 10 pies in the oven, nothing
Well,
stuck.
it's not burnt, it's caramelized.
Detroit party foul right there.
You can burn it, but then you're doing it wrong. You want it just to be perfectly caramelized. If it is burnt, then you might have trouble with it sticking. But yeah, that's sort of the nuance of it. You want to just get it perfectly caramelized, and then you'll have no problems. But
What are some of the dangers? Like, what are some of the signs that you've crossed from that golden deep brown into, you're going to get that bitter burned cheese taste?
it's
What are you looking
like
for?
it's kind of a combination of both time and just visually what you're seeing during the bake. I mean, it's just that golden brown color is the big thing. Um, you want to just make sure that you're not getting too far, like you're not going too far with the color. I mean, everybody kind of knows that golden brown color, and once you see that occurring, then then you want to just maybe pull it out, take a look at it, see if everything looks right. But if you're generally following like our recipes and our guidelines for time and temperature, you should be in good shape. But yeah, it's mostly by color and feel. And the more you do it, the more confidence you get in executing it.
Hopefully it doesn't taste like Erebus on YouTube said he just ordered pizza for the first time. It was extremely salty. He couldn't finish it. And I can assure you, with the pizzas we were trying coming out of that oven, uh, they weren't fishing because they had so much pizza. Everybody made their own pizza, but I think there was a lot of successes coming out of that oven. And even though the one oven had broken on us, but we had a lot of
Yeah,
success there.
that was interesting. I don't know what happened. So we had like a commercial. I don't know. Was it Blodgett? It was like a Blodgett type, big commercial oven with like the double doors with like 10 racks each, and the second oven just stopped. It just quit on us. Like we have no idea why. Like I don't know if it timed out, like we had it on for too long or what happened, but yeah, that kind of set us back, and we had we had to kind of pivot in real time and
It
figure
was.
something out.
And and I thought we made a couple executive decisions on the fly, and it all worked out, right? So it wasn't going to go exactly to plan, despite our best efforts to plan as much as we could.
Right,
And
right.
I think we made a good pivot there, and largely folks seemed satisfied with the class overall, though. So that was exciting to just see the looks on faces was just great. The feedback was awesome.
Right. And I'm gonna, hey, since we were talking about Lloyd pans here, I'm gonna throw up. I have a discount code for people. I'm just gonna throw it up in the banner at the bottom here, so you can use Jimmy Hank 10 at checkout on Lloyd Pan's website direct, and you'll get 10% off with your order. So
Oh, that's
go
cool.
ahead
So
and,
especially if you're, a pizzeria and you're ordering a bunch of them, I mean, 10% makes a huge difference there.
yep, for sure.
So yeah. So yeah, well, I didn't realize it was Christmas already, Jimmy. So
There
thanks
you
for
go.
throwing that
Yeah,
up there.
get your Christmas shopping done in October.
Yeah, didn't we have like a little preview of you in the class? Did we have a little video that some I
I
might
don't
have to
know.
throw that up. What's that?
I don't know. Do you?
Yeah, let me work on that. I'll get that going. Just give me a second. So besides the class, so we talked about New York style and we talked about Detroit style pizza in the class. Now we have a guest here tonight that's going to talk Neapolitan pizza in just a little bit. So if you were going to do another class and you had to step outside your comfort zone and you couldn't do Detroit, what style would you venture to teach next?
Ooh. To teach, um, I mean, I would really, and I know this would be a popular one, and you, I think might have got a lot of requests for this, like the pan fried Sicilian, the Northeast PA pan fried Sicilian. I've only done it one time, and it came out okay, but I personally would like to learn that. I couldn't teach that class, so I'd like to learn that from you. Teaching, I might know enough about Neapolitan to maybe pull that off, but I think our guest might help us out with that one. We might have to have a special guest instructor for a Neapolitan class.
Yeah, I'm in on that. But that would be definitely by far the biggest request I get is for pan fried Sicilian pizza. And it's not even close. So I think I have to work on kind of developing that. I'm
Yeah, and I
having
think like our friend Cosmo up there that we visited before the night before the class. I mean, he's doing a really cool pan fried Sicilian in like the 8x10 Lloyd pans, which are the pans I use. So it's almost like a mini pan fried Sicilian, not your traditional like a pan fried Sicilian comes in like a big tray, right? Like it's normally like a like a half sheet, like an 18 by like 12 size, like lunch tray size pizza.
Mm-hmm.
But he's doing like they're
Yeah.
almost like a small, like 8 by 10, like mini pan fried Sicilian almost. There's a really his pizza's really good, and like I want to try to recreate it, and I think it's a really cool format for that style.
And he even dropped a tip. I don't know if we should be giving his tips away here on the air, but
No, that might
always
be
learning something. Oh, there's your video, Jimmy.
Yeah, man, we had some good pizzas coming out of the oven that day.
Yeah, there's some nice stuff there. We had New York right there. You had your Detroit. It was great stuff. So yeah, that was. I don't know. I feel like just. I finally feel like I'm rested up enough to start considering next steps. But that was a lot. I'm definitely proud of what we did there. It was so much fun. Anybody that the one thing I do want to talk about real quick is mistakes that noobs make, and I don't mean to say noobs in a condescending manner in any way, because I want to encourage people to ask questions and not feel that they're being judged. But the couple of things that I picked up on, and that it wasn't just in the class, but it's in the questions I get. And I'd like to hear your feedback. But the thing that I think holds most people back is making the dough, number one, and pressing out and handling the dough, number two. Maybe not necessarily in that order. I am thinking back, I tried to teach this sort of New York style stretch in the class, and I quickly noticed that was not very easy to teach the way I was teaching it. So I have to make some adjustments there. But I also remember when I was being trained to be a pizza maker, that was the hardest hurdle, like how to stretch the dough, how to stretch it evenly, how to not stretch the middle. Because every noob, that's what they do. They stretch the middle first, and then you get that thin spot in the middle.
Yeah, and I was glad you did that style of stretch because I had never done that style of stretch for a round like New York style, and I even had a hard time wrapping my head around it. Like I was trying to help students, and I was watching you, and I was trying to like replicate it, and I was having trouble too. So I was like, oh, well, I'll show you my style of stretching. So like as a contrast to yours, and but yeah, I mean that's and yours is. Can you describe it? Sort of like you're making that rim with your fingers up against the side on the bench, and
Yeah.
you're sort of rotating it around like 360 degrees while
Mm-hmm.
pressing out to the edge and making that like like a rim.
Yeah, so I do create that little bit of a rim there, and then I sort of sit my hand, let's see, down in the little rim that I create, and then I just pull like in this manner, just maybe like a 16th of a turn every single time, and then you just sort of turn and work your way around. Would that be clockwise? Yeah, you'd work it around. But I think though the only way to really teach that is hands-on and kind of just showing and getting a feel for it. So that's why we brought 60 doughs so people can get to practice, because there's really no other way to do it than get the reps in, right? You got to really just have the dough, work the dough, and get a feel for it.
Yeah, for sure.
We were just talking about ovens. We got a question about what temp should I cook my pizza in my home oven, and I'm going to give a big fat it depends, but why don't you give us your Detroit style temperature and method, and then I'll kind of weigh in.
Okay, so yeah, for a Detroit style, I par bake, and the par bake time and the finished bake time is basically the same. Cooking at 500, most home ovens will go up to 500. Some go to 550, but I think 500 is like the general, like top end. So yeah, 500. If you have a baking steel, that's the best. If because you'll get more heat transfer from the bottom. You don't need one, but it helps. definitely you need a baking steel for if you're doing New York style or like a round pizza in your oven. But for Detroit's now, you can just throw it on the rack. So it's going to be about 8 to 10 minutes at 500 for the par bake, and then about 8 to 10 minutes for the final bake. So 20 minutes total, but you have a little bit of rest time in between. So I don't know. So if you're doing a New York style in a home oven on a baking steel, what are you shooting for there?
So me, my rule is just max temp of the oven. So if the max temp is 500, you go 500. Mine happens to go 550. I wish it went 600, but 550 is certainly enough. I use convection because I like that more intense heat on the crust, and I think it helps. It helps me get a few more degrees on my baking steel. So even though I have it set at 550 and the convection setting actually deducts 25 degrees off, I end up at like 565, something like that. So I like that extra heat, gives a nice oven spring, helps you get a little crispier crust. And I just like the way that it cooks up through the pizza, right? So especially if you're putting heavy toppings, you really need to cook up through because you're going to have that gum line of raw dough there. So Joe, I would say in most cases, you're looking at about the highest your oven will go. Unless you have a really thick pizza, like a double crust white, you're going to go lower. A stromboli, you're going to go lower. But I don't think you ever go below 400. I don't think I've baked below 425, probably not below 450. I like baking hotter, including when I'm making like reheating a frozen pizza, like the directions on the package, I throw the directions away. You got to go hotter. Like, much better results with the higher heat. And I think that's why these home pizza ovens are so popular, right? They say 90-second bake. I'm not a huge 90-second bake guy. We're going to have a 90-second bake guy on here in a minute. But I like that crisp, thin crust, no flop. So I don't go 900 to 1,000. You know, I cook a little cooler in those outdoor ovens.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing, and that was what I was kind of experimenting with the new oven and doing a New York style. You know, you're doing sort of they call it like a low and slow, which you hear that term in smoking meats more often, where you're doing a lower temperature and a slower bake. So, you know, in the outdoor oven, it's more like a 600 to 700 temperature, probably 700, and then you're cutting the flame down and then doing it a longer bake, like a 5-minute bake, as opposed to like a 90-second to 2-minute bake.
Yeah, absolutely. I see we have another question that's very relevant to something I just did.
What are your thoughts on combining 2 pizza doughs to make one Sicilian pizza? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, why don't you talk about your experience there, Jim, with your leftover dough that you just did?
So first,
the dough from the class too, right?
It was a week old dough, but you know, that sounds like a bad thing. But as you know, we put very little yeast in that, so it didn't sort of decompose. So there was plenty of life left in it. But what I did was I took 3 250-gram doughs to make it into a 750-gram dough, and I sandwiched the 3 doughs together. And just to keep, I'm not a big Docker guy. For those that don't know what a Docker is, it kind of looks like a back massager with these like forks on it, these little pegs that poke holes in the dough. So a Docker, gives you this uniformity in your crust and kind of pokes the big bubbles out of it. But I use the Docker not for that purpose, but to marry it up and to kind of bring all 3 doughs together and eliminate any major air pockets in between the doughs. So it does work well. It works better with more mature dough. I do not recommend flouring the dough before sticking it together. Keep it tacky. Also, you don't want to really oil it. That the dough just in its natural state will tack together nicely. And then the other thing you don't want to do is if it's cold, just don't force it together. Let it come to room temperature and stretch it out. But it does work just as well as one dough if you take your time.
And you did that right in the pan. You put like the first dough down kind of pushed it out, and then you put the second dough on top of it, and it ran the docker like across it in the pan?
So I started actually on the counter. So I sandwiched them on the counter,
Okay.
just stacked them like Big Mac style, and
Yeah.
then sort of just pressed it out on the counter. Because what I like to do is, if we talk to Eddie, which we'll have him on the show, Eddie Pizza 412 out of Pittsburgh, he does the same thing. He presses it out alongside the pan and then lifts and presses it in. At least that's what he's told me a couple of times.
Mhm.
So this way, it's already out to the size of the pan. And, I'm a butter flavored Crisco guy, right? And I think you are too. So once you already have it there, there's really no more work to be done, right? The dough's already relaxed in the counter, and then I kind of plop it in the pan. So
Absolutely.
that's how I like to operate.
Nice. What do you think? Should we get our guest up here? I think he's falling asleep over here.
I think he is, and let's bring him on, guys. So really happy to introduce Jeff Taylor from Staglio Pizza. He's down in Maryland, and he is making some unbelievable Neapolitan and other styles of pizza. But I when I think about Jeff, I think about Neapolitan style pizza because they're just so gorgeous coming out of that oven.
Well, thanks, guys. And first of all, 90 seconds? No shot. We're doing it in 60 seconds.
He's doing 60-second bakes over here.
60-second bakes.
This guy.
There's no 90 seconds here.
He doesn't have time for that extra 30 seconds. He does so many pizzas at his events.
That's right. Yeah, no, we're shooting for closer to 60, maybe 70 seconds.
Wow, that's speed. So that's a lot of pressure though, because how long until the first turn then if you have that flame raging like that?
30 seconds. We let that thing set up, 30 seconds, and I don't turn more than once or twice. We'll start spinning to get an even bake, but pretty much just 1 or 2 turns.
No kidding. So tell us a little bit about what you do as far as your events and what styles of pizza. I noticed you're at a lot of wineries and things like that. So just give us a little background about what you do.
Yeah. So we do a lot of pop-ups, festivals, wineries. We're doing a wedding, and we do parties, showers, you name it. We're all about kind of having a good time and bringing an experience. But, it's all handmade dough that, at least 3-4 day ferment. I'm kind of into this low hydration right now, even though it's winter, but I can kind of get my 61% hydration to resemble about a 68%. Puff. So we're pretty happy with it.
Well, that's pretty awesome. What would you say to somebody who doesn't know what hydration is, that's kind of tuning in to, just learn about pizza? What would you say? Why is that important?
Well, the hydration, the sort of the higher the hydration, the longer the cook will be, and the lower the heat will be, because you gotta, as that water's got to cook out. Okay, so it takes a little bit longer to do that. But hydration is basically just the percentage of water in relation to the flour. Okay, so if you have a kilogram of flour, 1,000 grams, and you're at 680 grams of water, that's 68%. But generally, the higher the hydration, maybe the more airier the crust will be in the cornicione. But I'm really pushing and kind of trying to make a little difference in the field in lower hydration, but still getting that bigger puff.
Right. Interesting. Oh, go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I was going to say, and one of the advantages of that lower hydration dough is it's easier to handle. So if you have like a less experienced pizzaiolo that's launching or stretching the pizzas, it's gonna be a little bit more forgiving. You're not gonna have as many tears, right? And then also it's gonna, like you mentioned, in the summertime, it's not going to overproof as quick. If it's a little bit lower, if it's a lower hydration, you can basically get longer life out of it, I think, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Generally the thought is that in the summer, when it's warmer and there's more humidity, you're going to lower your hydration. And in the winter, when it's a little colder, you're going to raise your hydration. But I think most of us learn from experience, and very quickly, I learned that if you want to push that hydration in the summer, you've got to deal with the dough and the issues that then come with it if it starts to blow up on you. So I've kind of found a way to to manage that dough, and I'm pretty happy with a lower hydration. It's easier to slap out. It's easier to get out. Less tears. You can load it up with toppings. It's easier to handle in the oven. All around, I'm just super happy with it.
So managing variables in any, even a controlled environment like say air conditioned kitchen is challenging, but you're doing things outdoors, which makes it even more challenging, right? Sometimes without refrigeration, I would imagine. But what I really want to ask about is you compete on a big stage making pizzas where you have to travel with your dough, use foreign equipment that you've never tried before. Can you talk about some of the challenges with taking your show on the road and sort of competing with it?
I don't know that we've got enough time to go into all that. I mean, Jimmy, right?
That might actually be a really good topic for a show that we can like really take a deep dive on. But kind of giving tips and tricks. But no, I think you could do like the 30,000-foot view of like,
what's the biggest stressor?
Yeah.
What's the number one biggest stressor?
If you look at everyone who competes, they're all managing their dough. Okay, you've got people. When we're all packing our dough into coolers, we're flying it across the country. Okay, but what you don't know is that for a month prior to that, I'm packing my cooler and performing tests with how full is the cooler, how much ice do I put in it, because what is dough management? It's time and temperature, right? So if I pack it with a lot of ingredients and a lot of dough and this and that, and I put 2 ice trays in it, or two ice blocks, is that going to be too cold? Am I going to freeze the dough? But then you arrive at your hotel. First thing you do is you unpack your dough. You don't even take your clothes out of the suitcase. You're unpacking the dough, and you've got people pressing out dough in the bathroom. You've got people running the shower to steam it up to get a warmer temperature. I go in there and sometimes I'll crank up the temperature of the or crank down the temperature of the air conditioning in the room. I've got my dough, some of it over by the window. I've got some of it over by the by the air conditioner. I've got some of it on the floor because it's cooler. It's all about managing the dough, and everyone's doing it.
What you just described there is the reason I would never consider competing.
It's crazy. Well, you look at someone like Idris. I think this last time he his dough totally blew up, didn't it, Jimmy? You remember that?
Yeah.
He got there and his dough totally blew up on him. I think he had to make new dough.
Yeah, and there are people that are making dough out there. I mean, they'll go to different pizza shops, like they have, Vince Rotolo. He'll let you in his shop and make dough in his shop. just ask him. He's, Tony Gemignani, even like you could ask him, be like, hey, can I make dough in your kitchen? He'll let you make dough in his kitchen. It's crazy. So yeah, if you want to make dough out there, you can make dough out there. I made my dough at home and flew it across the country just because I know the variables I can control here. Las Vegas is a desert, so it's super dry. So I felt like if I made my dough here and packaged it up and sent it out, then I was sort of starting from a baseline that I was comfortable with. And then, if it's drier out there, at least I can kind of adjust if I needed to. But making the dough out there is going to be like a totally different formula because it's so dry and warm. So that was kind of what I was comfortable with doing. But I know there's a lot of people that just make dough out there.
Yeah.
So
I made my dough here, and then just left it in bulk format for the trip. And then, once I got out there, I literally rolled my balls on, my dough balls on the sink counter, and it's what we all do.
You got to do what you got to do. I haven't done it, but I've observed many pulling the tricks out.
Yeah, we could go off the rails on that comment, but yeah, no, it's good stuff. It's pressure that we all like.
What I'm trying to think about how to word this. So back to the catering thing. And I've helped a friend of mine work at a brewery once. I was making pizzas, fresh pizzas, and folks tend to get a little impatient when they're waiting for a fresh pie, particularly when there's some alcohol involved. Have you had any run-ins or interesting interactions? You don't have to call anyone out specifically, but if you have any funny stories, I'd love to hear.
Well, we do a handful of festivals here locally. The Art and Wine Festival, the Craft Beer Festival, the Summerfest, which is, they're just all fun, great. Everyone's having a good time drinking festivals. And I'll have a wait literally of 45 minutes to an hour. I'm backed up that much. We have boxes stacked up, and we'll start to sell out if the event ends at 4 or 5. We'll sell out close to an hour and a half early, but we'll be there another hour and a half making pizzas. And most people were like, have another drink, it'll be ready in a little bit, and generally they're okay. You get an occasional someone who is anxious to have their pizza. But we're a big family affair here, doing our thing. And my brother-in-law handles that portion of it. He faces the public. So quite honestly, that's probably the hardest job, as you know, Jimmy, dealing with these people. I've kind of got my back turned, and I'm making the pizzas and stretching them out, but he's dealing with the people, minute by minute. But you know what? Kind of a high intensity gig, and that's what I thrive on.
That's pretty awesome. I know your job's hard, but that front of the house, working the counter, taking the money, keeping track of everybody that's a tough job. That is really difficult.
It really is. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And Jeff, you've been doing this for how many years at these street festivals? And I actually did one with Jeff, and it's a really cool environment. They like shut down the main street in his town, and it's just basically vendors, like food vendors, craft vendors, wineries, breweries, all lined up. And you can basically just go like, booth to booth, get a glass of wine, get a beer, get a piece of, pizza, there's barbecue, all kinds of food, whatever food you want. So, you have a reputation now of like, people know your pizza and they look for you, they seek you out here. So they kind of know the deal, right? They know if they're going for your pizza, hey, it might take a while, but it's the best pizza there. so they're willing to wait for it, right? So, I'm sure there's, you still get that element of people that are like anxious for their pizza, but for the most part, most people kind of know the deal, right?
Yeah, you're right, Jimmy. And what kind of tells you that you've maybe gone to the next step is you get a lot of regulars,
Right.
and the people coming back know that okay, we're pretty cool waiting. If there's a line, I mean, once your pizza's sort of in queue, as I said, you're only 60, 70 seconds and you're good to go. But yeah, those things are a lot of fun. And we're a fairly rural community. So Main Street's a big deal to us, and we see so many people that we know in the community, friends and others. And I invite people in to sort of regular customers. They come in, they make their own pizza sometimes. I really enjoy talking and interacting with the folks. To me, that's a big part of it.
Well, that's awesome. So you allow them to kind of assemble their own pie sometimes?
Sometimes I do. I've got some great pictures of folks that are sort of regulars and loyal customers that yeah, absolutely. We go to a local winery here, and it's a very low key setting, and yeah, I have them come back. I have their kids help, and it's all about having a good time with these folks.
That's pretty cool. I mean, what better experience than that, especially like getting the kids involved. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
We do usually once a year. We do something for the local community where during the summer, like for lunch, where they have where the kids go for a day, and they're providing lunch for these kids and so forth. And that's really the best. They get to I'll open the pizza up, but they'll spread the sauce, and they'll put the cheese on, and these are 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old kids, and their faces just light up. And my wife is helping, my kids are helping, and we're all just having a great time.
I mean, that's really what it's all about. I can see your face light up while you talk about it. So that's really, really awesome to hear and see. So I appreciate you sharing that. That really is, it is about quality pizza, but those connections and interactions are really, really critical. So love to hear that.
Yeah.
So if you can give, so we're starting to come up on the 9:00 hour here. If you can give one tip to somebody who wants to start making Neapolitan pizza, where would you tell them to start? What would you say?
Where would we start? So, I mean, Neapolitan is, as you guys know, it's a little bit different than, the regular pizza type that you get at your local, Italian place. I would, some would say you've got to use like the best quality ingredients. And yes, if we're competing and we're trying to put, we're trying to go above that home pizza maker, to competition level or something like that, you're using that. But, you can make great pizza with bread flour, with you can make it. I heard you guys talking. You can make it at home in the oven. For Neapolitan though, it's about that quick bake, high heat. So you are going to want to steal, for Neapolitan. But I would say just kind of let it, have fun with it, and don't be too worried. You go online, you read these comments about everyone, putting each other down about using, whether it's shredded cheese or, the wrong type of flour. just start. And I would say start with a lower hydration so you gain some skills and confidence. Okay. Because, at the higher hydration, it's sticky. You've got to have your hands wet. You've got to have your hands in oil. But start at a lower hydration. Start at 58%. Start at 60%. Okay. That's, 60% is not a lot of water. That's very manageable. Okay. I notice a huge difference between 61 and 69, 70%. There's a huge difference there. So start at a lower hydration, have something manageable, and just make pizzas. I once learned that you had to make 1,000 pizzas to really understand what you're doing, and I truly believe that. At a much higher level, not for the homemaker.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think I've heard that somewhere too. I don't know where it came from, but I had to look that quote up. But I think you're right on the hydration. I think that's a great point, because that's the one comment I get from most people, and that I see the most online is like, "Oh, my dough's sticky. Like, why is my dough sticky? It's sticking to the peel. I can't launch it." Which could be other factors involved as well, not just hydration. Like maybe it's not properly
the wrong
mixed.
flour.
Yeah, it's not properly mixed. Like all the water didn't absorb. I mean, different flours absorb water at different rates. So maybe you didn't, give it enough time to fully absorb your water. But lowering the hydration is probably like the quickest, easiest fix for that. Even if, your water didn't fully hydrate your flour. So yeah, that's like the number one tip I give people is just like go for a lower hydration and see what happens. And then, work your way up from there, like get confidence at that lower level.
I mean, the real high hydration is social media type, stuff. You don't need that for good pizza.
Yep.
I just want to give a tip on what not to do. And you mentioned the negativity of people tearing each other's pizzas down. Stay out of the Facebook groups. There's so much misinformation in those groups and so many, so-called professionals in there. Find yourself a trusted mentor. People reach out to me constantly, and I'm sure you guys are constantly getting messages too. Find yourself somebody you trust. Ask them questions. They're always happy to help. I know I am, and I know you gentlemen have helped me out as well. So that would be kind of my biggest thing is don't be scared to reach out and ask, because the pizza community is pretty awesome, and I wouldn't have met you guys without the pizza community. So grateful for both of you.
Jim, what's on your hat there? I felt like when I came in, I didn't have a hat. Okay, so I had to run and I'm
you need the hat crew, right?
Yeah, sorry. So you guys know what I'm wearing, right?
The Stagioni hat. That's a very nice hat. I wish I didn't have such a large watermelon head where I could actually fit into a hat like that.
But I can't see. Is that a NEPA, or that's what you guys used for your class, right?
Yeah, so we have Jimmy's logo here, my logo here, and Pizza Masterclass. So it was just totally geeking out that we were able to pull this together. I have the headphones on, so I don't want to.
I have one of those here too. I got it. I can give you a closer view here. Maybe you can see it. I don't know. The light's a little bright there, but
isn't that a cool hat though? That 5.
That is.
That's Stagioni hat. That's a great hat.
That's cool. And I feel like I don't have a mic. I'm unprofessional. So what I got here is my uni competition peel. Okay, and this is my mic. Speaking into the mic.
I love
this guy. He's flexing his uni award.
That's a major flex, buddy. That is awesome.
As Jimmy, that's a story for another day.
That is a story for another day.
Well, we're planning to have you for a much more comprehensive story. We're going to challenge you.
I could fill your time with good stories.
Awesome. Well, we're going to challenge you to maybe do some live bake, because that's going to be a centerpiece of what we're doing here. Jimmy and I were.
I would love to be able to do a live bake. I'm running 4 of those unis, and I would love to do a live bake.
And while being interviewed by us, you can do it.
I can do it. I've got even down here in rural Maryland, okay, we've got things called AirPods. Okay. You know, I actually have this thing called the World Wide Web. Okay. And we've got internet here at the house and
He
Wi-Fi.
actually has Wi-Fi on his patio where he's got his uni set up. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
No kidding. So I just want to make sure you're up to the challenge, because the questions are going to come rapid fire, and like that pizza's going to need a turn after 30 seconds, but we're not going to wait. So
there's no
we're
way.
going to put the pressure on you.
You know, if I've got pressure of literally 30 pizzas, waiting to be made, by folks, I can handle a few questions.
Awesome. Jeff, you have to tell people how to find you. Where do we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Staglio Pizza. It's such a great community. What you two are doing here is fantastic. And I'm on Facebook at Staglio Pizza, and always available to help. I really like helping people. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. There's no secrets here.
That's great. So guys, and he does mean that, because we do message each other, and we do encourage. I do steer people to various pizza people based on their knowledge. So they will get back to you. So I definitely encourage you to reach out.
Are you guys? Let's see. We've got a question. Are you guys seeing any questions on Instagram?
What do you have?
I have my Instagram up here, but Maddie Taylor, what hydration do you suggest for a good Neapolitan? Is that your daughter?
Well, that may have been a setup. Okay. My daughter's down in Tennessee. She's probably studying. She's studying to be a vet. Working hard, studying 24/7, doing great. And that may have been a softball question, but
I don't know if she's still on. That was a while back. I just scroll back pretty far for that. There's not too many people still on live on Instagram, but yeah, I got Instagram up on my other screen here. So yeah,
I don't know. She may be on. I think she just said hi. So
cool. Okay, good.
Hey, man.
Yeah, she's there. Right.
Yeah, get back.
There's a little bit of a delay. There's a little bit of a delay from the live because we're streaming to 3 platforms. Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And I think Instagram is the one that's most delayed. So It's like a 20 or 30 second delay.
So, but she says, what hydration? Hey, look, I'm right now, I am loving this 61%. And if you look at all the posts I've done, probably in the last 3 months, they're all 61%.
And I mean, that's like close to, I mean, what's the traditional, like the real, like AVPN recipe?
You're
That's
talking like
60%,
58,
right? Yeah.
58 to 61, 60%, you know?
Yeah.
Now, the only big difference though, is I do a long cold ferment, which I think draws out a lot of flavor, but there is nothing like a good 24-hour room temperature dough.
Well, and that's what the AVPN recipe is. That's
Yeah.
that's the traditional, that's thousands of years old. They didn't have refrigeration, so they would do a 24-hour room temperature fermentation at that level, that hydration level, and it's if you can nail that, like that's a unbelievable pizza.
Yeah.
But it's there's definitely some nuance to it. So
yeah, I don't get a chance to make the 24-hour dough much. Occasionally I do, and it's really something special.
Right.
Well, if that was a setup, let me follow up. What would Maddie say about her dad making pizza constantly? Is it still cool to have the pizza guy, or I know what it's like in my house, so I wanted to ask what it's like in your house.
Yeah, it's still cool to make pizza with dad.
It is cool because, like I said, she's down getting her degree in veterinarian school, and now some of her friends are saying, "Did I see your dad on Instagram and doing this and that?" And so I am going to go down to Tennessee sometime, over the next few months, and make all of them some pizzas. But it's cool sometimes, and sometimes it's not. You guys know the deal.
Yeah, I think I definitely overdo it here at home. So, but sometimes it comes in handy when you have a party to feed or something like that. So I'm always there to pump out 5 or 10 pies.
That's right. But where I am cool though is with my grandkids. They love to sit with me, scroll through. My granddaughter loves to hit the like. And I told you the other day, Jimmy, I think she saw Eddie on a thing, and she just started laughing. I don't know what it was about that guy, but she just started laughing. So, but, my grandkids, they love to help. Whether it's putting cheese on or she's making piles of semolina, and it's a family affair, and it's super, super important to me.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, Jeff's got a great crew down there. They all like when they do their events, he's got it's like the full family's involved, and they all work really well together, and they're all really great people. And I had a blast, down there. Like Curran came down with me the one day, and we helped him at that festival, and it was really cool to see, really fun.
Actually, you've done 2 with us.
Yeah, we did that Christmas tree farm too, right? That was a good time. That was a little bit more laid back, wasn't quite as fast paced and hectic as the what was that? That was the wine festival we did, right?
You did the oyster stroll.
Oh, right.
You did the oyster stroll, and then we did a Christmas tree farm, and I really enjoy Christmas time, and we've got a couple things lined up already for Christmas tree farms here in December, and there's nothing more authentic than just people out having a good time with families.
That was a cool vibe because people are just coming in, getting their Christmas trees, and then they're like, "Yeah, I'll grab a pizza for lunch on the way out," and that's you wouldn't think like Christmas tree farm would be like a place you'd get pizza, but it worked. Like it was a really cool idea. I mean, that's like, how did that idea come about? Did you just approach the Christmas tree farm and be like, "Hey," or was it somebody you knew? Like, how did that come up?
Well, he actually had my pizza at one of the other Main Street events, and he was like, "Hey, we've got a big farm. We want to have you out." So I did that. The one I've got, there's a Christmas tree farm literally a third of the mile down the street from me that I could walk to, and they're local, and they're one of the biggest Christmas tree farms in the county, and we're going to do that for 2 days again. And what I usually like doing there is one day I'll do rounds and one day I'll do squares.
That's cool.
It's a great way to bring in the holiday season. That's awesome.
Yeah, good stuff, man.
Well, what do you think, Jim? We're like past 9 o'clock here, so
I do want to give another shout out to Lloyd Pans, and I do want to remind people that they can use Jimmy's promo code 10% off to get Lloyd Pans. I think Jeff also is a fan, correct?
Yeah.
He's a user of the Lloyd Pans. So you make a bang at Detroit too. I don't mean to just brand you a Neapolitan guy, but so do want to thank Lloyd Pan for sponsoring tonight's episode. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience with us. Loves having you, and let's do it again, but we're going to have you doing some live bakes if that's all right.
You got it, man.
Yeah, a live bake would be a lot of fun. We definitely got to do that.
That'd be awesome. I'd really be looking forward to it.
All right, gentlemen. Well, it's been a great time talking pizza with you. Let's do it again soon. And we'll see you next time live, probably 2 weeks from tonight with Jim and Jimmy.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Jim. See you.